I wonder why aren't there more news outlet talking about this? This should be made public to the people, right? Hello, friends. Welcome to Look and Live. You are now here with Pastor James Devalon, and this is The Perspective. Now, in The Perspective today, what I'm going to share with you is a document that has been released by the FDA, not willingly, but because they were commanded by a judge to do so. And I thought of it. Look at the timing in which this is released. While many minds are distracted with the Ukraine and Russia, the invasion, special operation of the war, and everything else that came with that, we are being inundated with information from the news outlet. And this was released. Very few are talking about it. From the West, you won't hear a peep. And I looked at that. I'm like, this should be made public. I'm going to talk about this in my channel today. I'm not sure how much of the gatekeepers are going to allow this to remain online. So while you're taking a listen to this, I'm going to put some links below. Look at the reference points and also go deeper, okay? So first of all, I want to look at the one document published by Anthony B. Logan on his website. He spoke about the FDA released 55,000 pages of Pfizer vax trial data. The FDA has released 55 pages of Pfizer's vax trial data. The FDA initially tried to keep the data under wrap for 75 years, citing what? Lack of resources. Obviously, this wasn't true, as U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman compelled the agency to release the data immediately. So this wasn't supposed to be made public for 75 years, and I wonder why. Well, 75 years from now, majority of us who has either bought into the narrative or had accepted and taken the vax, or anybody else who has sided with them, will not be alive to even question their, their interests or their works. So we will be kept in the dark. He went on to say, in the data, there had been released so far an addendum exit. This addendum has a list of 1,291 potential side effects of the vax. This is just from the new data that has just been released, and much more is to be released in a matter of 8 months. Okay, let's look at this other news outlet coming from the BloombergLaw.com. He says, why a judge ordered FDA to release COVID-19 vax data pronto. A group of scientists and medical researchers sue the FDA under FOIA, or forced release of hundreds of thousands of documents released to licensing Pfizer BioNTech COVID vax. Plaintiff attorney Aaron Syrie, who is representing the group, explained the fight that had led a federal court to order expedited release of the document that agency claimed it will take decades to process. So this was not supposed to be made public for 75 years, but as a result of the judge decision, Mark Pittman, they had to release it. We are told, furthermore, in this article here coming from MSN, which I think is, I'm going to link that also in the video for you guys to check out. It says Pfizer's Pestilence 19 has 1,290 rare side effects. Own report shows. Whoa. What do we know? It talks about that. And when you go to the side effect list, it's very, very telling. We're talking about acute kidney injury, acute flaccid myelitis. Friends, we're talking about some very serious things here. Here is why I'm talking about this in this channel today. Is because there have been many voices who have actually said, I've actually accepted and taken the vax or Pestilence 19 inoculation, and I ended up with these side effects. Their voices were hushed. They were not allowed to speak about this, and many of them had to go on Rumble or Telegram, and they had to go to these different places to speak about what was happening to their loved ones. As a matter of fact, we've had families and friends who passed away after they had taken pestilence 19 inoculation. This is not to say there might not be some positive side of this thing. I don't personally disagree completely. But the notion of enforcing and mandating something that has this level of side effects is crazy to me. Now, when you move into Anthony B. Logan discussion, we're going to pause and take a listen to this and discuss this as we go. So, brace yourself. It only gets better.
I bet the media won't touch this story with a 10-foot pole.
Well, what's the one?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Pfizer releasing Pfizer vaccine clinical trial data in a 55,000-page document. Now, if I could find that original document, I'll link to that in the description box. But I have another document that I can link to right now that we'll get to in just a minute. Now, before I go any further, for the YouTube censors out there, let me say this. I'm only going to read from what I see as far as the data that comes from the FDA and Pfizer. I'm going to read from that data. That's all I'm going to do. Anything else, that's just my humble opinion, my viewpoint, my thought process. It's not medical advice or anything of that nature. All right. But I'm going to read from the data in front of me. Now, let me go on. Many of you may have heard this whole thing about safe and effective and, it's no problems, no side.
It's a shame that for a man to speak about something such important as that, he kind of have to give some type of excuses in a way, because the powers that be wants to silence the voices of those who might be saying something that doesn't always line up with the narrative. That is something problematic in our culture, to the point where we cannot consider other people's opinion because it doesn't make us feel good or it doesn't sit well with us. What's up with that? But go ahead, Anthony.
Side effects, well, according to the data, that is not necessarily 100% true, because there are over 1,000 listed potential side effects of the Pfizer vaccine in general. Now,
with 1,000 something listed side effects in just the new document that has been released by the FDA, that in itself is a good enough reason to pull this thing off the market and not continue to impose and mandate that on our families, particularly our children. That is way too many. With just over 20 side effects, we better off not even use this level of inoculation for public. But some people don't care.
Let's go ahead and get to this particular article. This was on Yahoo Finance, also on Children's Health Defense, and I'll link to both of those in the description box below. So all these links in here, you're able to go to and check it out for yourself. But let's read the article, just a little bit of it, so we get what's going on. Now, it says, in a 55,000-page set of documents released on Tuesday, which was this Tuesday, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CBER, is for the first time allowing the public to access data Pfizer submitted to the FDA from its clinical trials in support of the virus vaccine license. This follows U.S. District Judge Mark T. Pittman's decision on January 6th, interesting date, by the way, to deny the request from the FDA to suppress the data for the next 75 years. Remember that? Oh, it won't come out for 75 more years. So by the time all the data comes out, everybody will be dead that may have been exposed to it.
That's exactly what I was saying, right? 75 years from now, who is going to even care about what the FDA has released concerning this? If anybody needs to hear this truth, is now. Well, to say lack of resources or the reason why we cannot release this document. Well, when the judge put fire beneath them, they released it, right? It's kind of like, do you see why a lot of people just cannot put their confidence and trust in these systems? And I am in no way saying there are not some positive side. There are not some good individuals that are working in these systems. But generally, it is it is not right for us to fully trust in them with our lives, particularly when we know they're doing things like this.
But anyway, which the agency claimed was necessary in part because of its, quote, limited resources, unquote. And of course, there's links for the decision and also for the limited resources comment. But here we get to the meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah, let's get to that.
Here's the document that I do have right now. A 38-page report included in the documents features an appendix, quote, list of adverse events of special interest, unquote, that lists 1,291 different adverse events following vaccination. What is an adverse event? It's called a side effect. Matter of fact, there are a few things in here. You see all this? These are the potential, some of the potential side effects. That's not all 1,246. But I'm going to translate what some of these actually are because a lot of you guys may not know. And if I'm wrong about that, nurses, doctors, anybody, y'all let me know in the comments below. But let's get into it. And shout out to the person that sent me this in the email, and shout out to whoever wrote this article. It was very well done from Children's Health Defense, but I'll move on. The list includes acute kidney injury, acute flaccid myelitis. Now, what is that? What is acute flaccid myelitis? You know what kidney injury is. You know what your kidneys are.
Yeah.
What is acute flaccid myelitis? Well, AFM, as it's called, is a different name for polio. Oh, you thought it was eradicated? You thought the vaccines got rid of it?
Yeah.
Viruses don't go away. They become less prevalent in society, depending upon what you do. They mutate, they change, but they don't go away. Remember the plague from back in Europe that killed like half the population? That's still around right now. That was like, what, in the year 1300 or something? 700 years later, here it is. They were talking about a potential plague outbreak in California because of all the rodents and the trash and the human waste and all people just kind of scrunched up in one area. Similar to what it was back in Europe, where you had really tight quarters, tight conditions, no indoor plumbing, but you're using the bathroom indoors and taking your waste and throwing it out the window, and then the rats get involved with it. Then they bring the plague and it spreads and everybody has it. Okay, so a lot of it is conditions and also just change in environment, mutation, etc. But I digress. Polio is not gone. It's now called AFM, acute flaccid myelitis. Also, anti-sperm antibody positive. Not sure what that is. Brainstem embolism, brainstem thrombosis. Now, embolism, thrombosis, that's called a blood clot. I think you're talking about DVT, which we'll get to in a minute. Deep vein thrombosis, that's a blood clot. Just so you know what some of these words mean.
Yeah.
Cardiac arrest, cardiac failure, cardiac ventricular thrombosis, cardiogenic shock. All those are dealing with your heart. All those are heart problems.
That's crazy. Part of these, oh my goodness. We've had actually people from where we live who actually did experience these very same symptoms, and some of them are dead. And this is not to say this is the case for all people, but concerning these side effects and the impact it has on the public, and knowing that Pfizer is completely protected from any lawsuit, there is nothing anybody could do. This is your problem, right? This is our problem. This is your pain, your suffering. This is your anxiety. They can move on and live life however they choose to. But can we talk about the nature of these side effects and the impact that they has had on the population? Come on.
Okay, cardiac arrest is called a heart attack. Cardiac failure, heart failure. Cardiac ventricular thrombosis, that's probably a blood clot going to your heart. Okay, all of that is dealing with your heart, and we know that there's been a bunch of heart problems as it relates to this.
Of course.
Okay, myocarditis, making your heart muscle inflamed, and then once you have an inflamed area right here, that can cause your heart to fail, go into arrest.
Guys, I don't want to say anymore. Anthony B. Logan, thank you for this. Thank you for dropping this bombshell out and sharing this with us. there's much more we could say about this, but I'm going to bring it to an end. I'm going to link Anthony B. Logan's discussion in my description and in some of the articles as well for you to look at those as reference points so you can go deeper for yourself. You see, information like this, first of all, doesn't surprise me. Here's the reason why. I actually I've been an eyewitness of the effect, the negative effect of the inoculation 19. I've been an eyewitness of that to the point where I actually did put out a video on Facebook and on YouTube, which had gotten well over 30,000 views. It was taken down. All right, there were both platforms censored me for YouTube was censored me for like 30 days. But here's the thing. I had to go on other platforms to release this, and others have already downloaded this and released it, and it went on Rumble and everything else, where I spoke about my personal experience and what I saw with my own eyes as a result of inoculation 19 and the adverse reaction and the lives that were impacted in a negative way about that. I don't want to say too much on this YouTube platform. If that's something you want to hear more about, send me an email and I'll send you a link to where it is found. So now, anyway, this is the reason why artists like Jimmy and Levy, High Res, made videos, songs such as this, right? This is why they say what they say.
Jimmy never gonna stop. I ain't trusting no CNN, MSNBC, and no Fox. Hey, all get funded from the same people trying to keep us all in that box. Hey, I ain't doing this for money. I ain't doing this for no props. We gotta start holding politicians accountable, and that's one. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody needs to be held accountable. And at the same time, we cannot trust these news networks as if they are infallible. Now, don't get me wrong. We cannot trust people generally. We can invest enough trust that they will do their part in the best way that they know how. But as far as trusting them with our lives, we better not. And this is why Tom McDonald in his new song said something similar to that also with A. Cal and Struggle Jennings and Novo Rockefeller. Listen to this.
The man on the news says the problem is me. I'm just a small town boy with big American dreams. The world's going crazy and they lying to us. Don't know who to believe, so in God we trust.
I can't blame him for that.
We don't trust the news, the government, or pharma. We just want freedom, that you have that to offer. We don't want the lies, the politics, or the drama. We just want the life that was promised by our fathers. We don't trust the news, the government, or pharma. We just want freedom, that you have that to offer. We don't want the lies, the politics, or the drama. We just want the life that was promised by our fathers.
The man on the news says.
You got the message, right? I got it. It makes a lot of sense to me. Not only we can trust these systems, we cannot trust men. While it is true, I believe some are very honest and doing the best they can. There are certain individuals that are worthy of our trust. But how much of that trust could we invest in them? Small percentage of that. But God takes things a little bit deeper. He said this. Not only we shouldn't trust these systems, we shouldn't trust our own hearts. He says in Proverbs 3, he says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. We're speaking about trusting people and trusting systems here. Part of the reason why we can't do this is because systems are run by imperfect people. And some of them may have all the best possible intention at heart, but they're gonna still make mistakes and gonna fail us. And I'm not saying to have this anti-governmental spirit here, this anti-pharmaceutical spirit here. That's not what I'm promoting. What I'm promoting is trust from men, and investing that trust instead in God. Because when men do fail and make mistake, at least we have our foundation built upon the promises of God. Proverbs says, don't even trust your own heart. Don't even lean on your own understanding, because your own self will deceive you. Nonetheless, what others will do. In verse 6, it says, in all your ways, acknowledge who? Acknowledge Christ. What is he going to do for you? He will direct your path. Verse 7 says, be not wise in your own eyes. Don't think you have it figured out all on your own. And then he went on to say, fear the Lord and depart from evil. So what is the point? While we cannot trust in men, that is one thing, because they have the potential to fail and make mistakes. Secondly, we cannot trust in ourselves, because if anybody has the potential of deceiving us, it's us. And then he tells you that trust should be invested in God, which implies trust his word, trust his heart. Well, enough being said, enough Bible study. I love this information, guys. This was powerful. I needed to hear it myself. I had those thoughts already. I already knew. I've been on Rumble. I've been on BitChute. I've heard the other side of the story, and I did understand exactly where they were coming from. So with this being released, it's only confirming the facts. But again, guys, to top it off, invest your trust in God's word. Don't even trust in yourself in that process. Without anything else being said, man, look unto Jesus and live by faith. Have a good one. Bye.